What's going on? What's going on? Welcome back to Dre's Tapers and Fades, man. And today we got a good one. I've officially been invited to the National Hair Professional Convention for the continuing education out here in Iowa, and they want me to teach, man. They want me to teach. So, yeah, I'm very grateful, man. Very blessed to be able to do this. They're going to want me to kind of show them how to fade, how to taper, things like that, man. So, like I said, this is my first time. Very excited, and I want y'all to go ahead and follow along. Okay, so what we're going to do for him is we're going to go ahead, obviously, we want to go ahead and sanitize everything. Usually, after you cut someone's hair, you want to obviously brush it down, let it sit for about 10 minutes. That's why I usually just bring in other clippers, just so you can kind of alternate and switch them out. And then obviously, if I had a jar, I would put that in there. Make sure everything is nice and, sanitary. And what all you're going to do is you're going to start off by combing it out.
So I have a question.
Yep.
What if the top, or let's just say you had a little bit longer length,
Mm-hmm.
would you recommend a pick or a comb with that?
So usually what I say is if the comb can't go through the hair, like if it's getting stuck, just use a pick. And so just say if he had waves in his hair, like you would definitely not want to use a pick for that, because usually with the wave they want it to be laying down. And I would say just use a pick if the hair is in the front. I'm going to start with a 1.5 on the sides and the back. And usually what I do, especially for these sides, is I just close it and I take it up to about middle, like the middle of the vertical bar. So just kind of set invisible guidelines in. So I'll go ahead and turn them around. So what you're going to do, and you kind of want to come at an angle that's tilted. And you want to go in and bring it up to that invisible guideline right there. And like right here, this is where you're going to open it up at. But all you're pretty much doing, so say if you were to do a bald fade, what you would do is you would take your bald fade up to however you want it. So if you want it high, it'll be up here. If you want it low, it'll be down here. That's what I'm doing right here. But I'm just using a 1.5 instead of a closed guard. So then, spin them. And you always want to make sure you go over it a lot of times. Just so you can make sure that you got everything looking nice and clean. Because that's the thing sometimes, is if you don't go over it enough times, then you'll leave like dark spots. And then you'll have to go back after the whole haircut is done, and you don't want to do that because that takes a lot of time right there. So you go ahead, and like I said, I do it all the way around. Now some people, they like to, they'll do this side right here and then fade everything out. But with that, when you do that, you can kind of lose track of where you're at. You know what I mean? Because if you do all of this and this whole side is already done, then you got to go to the other side. Now if this side took you 30 minutes, you go to the other side, that's going to take you another 30 minutes. So now you might have 3 people in the shop and they're waiting, and now you might have to go all the way back and just do everything else. So what I always do is I just go around the whole head first. So whatever clipper I'm using, I do that for the whole thing. And you spin them. And back here, you see how I'm not going too high into the cowlick? Because with this cowlick part, you want this to always be a little bit longer. Because this is the part that kind of gets a little bit thin sometimes. So we keep going. And so basically what I'm doing right here is all I'm doing is I'm just clearing my canvas. I'm making a nice little clean canvas for when we start to fade. Which technically right here, this is a fade. It's just not like a ball, it's not a ball fade. It's a fade from a 1.5 to a number 2. And usually like that's what some people get. But then if you want to get it a little bit intricate, that's when you throw that taper on there. And that's the main thing that a lot of people get is the tapers. They love it. Some of my clients, they don't even come in and ask for a taper. I'm like, hey, do you want to throw a little taper on the back of it? Every time that I do that, they're like, oh my goodness, we love that. It just looks so much more cleaner. And it makes the haircut last a lot longer. Usually, if a person were to have waves, I wouldn't be able to cut his hair like this. Because when you got waves, I'm like with this right now, I'm just kind of going every angle just to kind of get it. With waves, if you were to go every angle, you're going to put a plug in his head because waves usually go a certain way. And another thing you don't want to do with waves is go against the grain, unless they ask you to. Because if you go against the grain on the waves, most people are like this, bro, you cut my waves out. It's like, and I always tell them, if you had waves, bro, I wouldn't be able to cut it out. You need to work on it a little bit more. But honestly, that, you know, that will happen though. You will cut some waves out, and then you're gonna be digging, and then you're gonna be sweating like this, but only because it messes hair up, not because it's hot. So you don't want to do that. Usually, when people see you sweating in the shop, they're looking at you like this, but the side eye like, do he know what he's doing? Does he know what he's doing? So then now what I'm doing, now that I have it pretty much cleared out on the side as far as the 1.5, now you can see this line right here. And the only thing I'm going to do with this line is I'm just going to open up my 1.5 and just go right at it. But you want to come at an angle. So we're going to come at this angle. And that's just going to fade that out, because on the top, we're going to use the number 2. So if you're using a 1.5 down here, you could take the 1.5 up as high as you want to, because when you get to the top, it's going to be a number 2. So a 1.5 open blends right into a number 2. It's literally, when you start getting your clipper guards and you know what the sizes are, it's easy. It's a piece of cake. And you don't have to work as hard once you know your clipper system. You know what I mean? You know that clipper system, it makes it a lot easier. So yep, now all I'm doing is kind of just flicking that top, because we're going to blend it in with a number 2. I can hear it. I'm pretty sure this microphone is probably echoing because I'm talking like, yeah. Sir. Gotta do it, man. I got to. And for me, I enjoy cutting hair a lot. So it's like, when I'm in the shop, I don't want to feel like I'm working. You know what I mean? I want to feel like this is a fun environment. Like, you having fun? Yeah, we getting it done. Because I feel like when you come into the shop and it's quiet and everybody's looking kind of mad, you get into there, you like, I don't even know if I want to sit down. I don't even know if I want to sit down, because it's like, it's not really enjoyable. I feel like no matter what you're doing, not even just with cutting hair, whatever work that you're doing, you should enjoy what you're doing. You know what I mean? Because regardless, we have to work, unfortunately. So why not be working and having fun while you're working and not being miserable? You know what I mean? Because you come in, I feel like if you come into the shop or the salon and you're miserable, that's gonna, your clients are gonna see that. You know, if you're having a bad day, they're gonna be like, oh my goodness, like, I don't know, she was cutting my hair and she was just all rough with me, making me turn my head, just like, bro, hold on, calm down. That's why, even when I'm having a bad day, all I do is I'm like, hey, you gotta get it done. It's not about you, it's about the client. That's it. So then I still see a little bit of light spots here on the side. So all I'm gonna do is just come in with my number 2 close and just bring that right on out. Same thing over here. I didn't even bring it. Usually what I would do after I was to get done with all of this is I would brush everything down. Just because with the comb, obviously the comb gets through the hair, but the brush actually lays the hair down. And now you see how in the back where the cowlick is, since I'm using the number 2, I can go against the grain with that cowlick. And all that's going to do is just fade it in. Same thing over here. Okay. So now, this is pretty much just the canvas now. So now this is just took down. Now it's ready to do the taper and get everything faded in. So now I take my magic clips. Yeah, because it's been 13 minutes. And what we're gonna do is, I ask them first, do they want sideburns or no sideburns? You want sideburns or no sideburns? No sideburns? Okay. So what I usually do is when he says no sideburns, I go ahead and I take the clipper close, because with the taper, you're gonna wanna make this bald. That's pretty much how you get it to blend and fade, how to make it look good. So I take it to wherever his sideburns are. I take that up. And I take it right to under the ear. You see that? I take it to where it's right, like flush with the ear, just so we have a little bit of room to fade. Because say if I was to take this line to here, there's really nowhere to fade, because this is a 1.5. So there's really nowhere to fade in between here and the 2. So then basically you kind of gonna make it a little bit harder on yourself to fade that out because now you have a smaller area. When if you keep it right under the ear, you have more room to be able to fade with. Then I do the same thing on the back. But with the back, what I do is I kind of go up a little bit more. I'll probably go up about an inch, inch and a half, just so we can kind of make sure that that's nice and clean. And these clippers are closed right here. And you're gonna go right, left or right. And when you're doing a back taper, what you want to do is you want to leave just a little bit of hair on these sides right here. So then when you line it up, you get a nice crispy hairline. Because if you was to cut all of this off, then there will be nowhere to actually like line it up and get it crisp. So you just want to leave just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit.
That's good to know. You know,
That's definitely.
That's a good tip.
Because it's like sometimes, you know, when you kind of get into a rush, you know, it starts to become second nature to you. But it's like, you know, I feel like if you can always remember that, your lineups will always come out good. So then, just like this, take it right under the ear. So now that we have our bald line set in, and that's why I say always do all sides first, because then all you have to do is just pick up one clipper, go all the way around. Take that off, pick up the next clipper, go all the way around. So for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the guard halfway open, and then I'm going to attack this line right here. Just right under it though, and I'm only going to go, but you see how I'm flicking out at the top? You don't want to put a hard line in it, you just want to kind of flick out. And you see how that line that I just made is pretty much disappeared now.
Scooping motion.
Scooping, yeah. And that line, just putting it in there is pretty much gone. And that's just from two guard, well without the guard, but two levers.
And
then
the same clipper,
yeah,
but you're scooping it.
yeah, you're gonna put the scoop in. So usually, like when you're doing it.
So you have it open now?
Yeah, so now I have it halfway open. Well, this really doesn't have a notch, but I have it halfway. So usually what you want to do, once you want to put it flush on the head and just scoop out. Because if you do this, you put it on the head and you're just going up and down like this, it's going to just keep creating more lines. What you want to do is you want to flick that line, flick it out. So then you don't have to go back and do it 1,000 more times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same thing in the back. You want to go up about an inch. And you want to just flick it out. I'm not putting any pressure on it. Only thing I'm doing is just letting the clipper do what it does. Flick out. And this is with the basically halfway open. And on the magic clips, like I said, they don't have notches, so it's like halfway open. So now, this is what a lot of people, they skip this step right here. It still has a kind of a faint line down here. So what you want to do with that faint line is you want to close it and then open it literally just a tad, just a little bit, because what we want to do is we want to take this line out. So then when people are seeing it from the back, it flows effortlessly from the top to the bottom. You don't even want to be able to see where the fade starts and where it ends. You just want to be like, that's a fade right there. So that's the main thing. And with this, don't skip this step, because this is the most important step of the fade. You want to close it and then open it up just a little bit, and you just attack that line. And when you do it, it's going to fade out like nothing, just butter.
Would you do that with someone that has a big fold in the back of their head?
Yes, and honestly, yep, I'm glad you asked that too. So like, when people do have the folds, what I usually have them do is I have them bend down, and then I just lift it up and I go in between. You know what I mean? So you would just take the clippers, stand in front of the camera. So what you would do is you would just take the clipper and do the little side motions. You don't really want to dig into it, you just want to kind of get the little extra, and then that should blend out. But sometimes with the folds, you can't get it all the way out. But the only thing you want to do is just make sure that you just get it out enough to where it's blended and it looks good. You know what I mean? Because obviously we can't dig all the way into the scalp or dig all the way into the neck, because then now we might leave red marks, they might be razor bumps. It's just like, we don't want to do that. So then same on this side. I'm going to close it. I do this, and this is just my reference just to kind of know where I'm at in the haircut. I close it, and then I open it up halfway. So I don't click it all the way back. It's just halfway, and then.
That very last step you just did. Will
Yeah.
you tell me that again?
Okay, yep. So you see how this it's a faint line right here?
Yeah.
Because I have it halfway open. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to You flick up and kind of create another little invisible line right there. And then you close it, and then you open it just a little bit. Because what this is going to do is this is going to take out that little line, because this is a bald line. So when you open this up a little bit, it takes that line out. Yeah. So I'll just go through the steps right here. So basically, this is my bald line right here.
And you don't scoop that?
No.
You put it flat?
Yep, you put it flat and you get it in there. Now, you can scoop it if you don't want to have to go back to it, and once you actually get the fade in and you know how to do it, you'll start flicking it out on your own. Like, your wrist will just start doing it because you just get in with the motion of how it should be faded. Because literally, what I'm going to do, and these are just the clipper guards that I'm going to use, I'm just going to kind of explain that right now. So what I'm going to do, so this whole canvas is a 1.5, this right here. The top is a 2. This bottom part is going to be a no guard. This middle part is going to be a 0. This part right here, I'm going to flick this part out with the number 1 closed. Then I'm going to open it up and flick it out again, and then I'm going to use the 1.5 to fade that right on in there. So it's literally steps like 0, 1, 2, 3. And it's open and closed. So basically, whatever you put a line in with, whatever clipper guard that you have, that's what you take that line out with. So basically, I'll just show you, I'll kind of flick this one out. So now I got that closed, open it up just a little bit. And you want to go right to where you're under that other line. And you can close it up a little bit if it's not really coming out. And that's pretty much what happens when you put a hard line in. And then open it a little bit more. And then close it. Now that's faded out. Okay. So on this, so now that we have this pretty much faded out, obviously we can always go back and we can detail. And that's what I like to do. I just like to go back and detail, so then I don't have to come back with no steps. And then like, dang, now I got to go back. It's going to take another 15 minutes. I thought the haircut was all the way done. So with this one, I'm going to take my half guard, which will be my 0, and I'm going to open it. Usually what you want to do is you want to start open until you kind of get the concept of fading. Just because if you start with it closed, you might push the line all the way up here. You don't want to do that. You want it to kind of be seamless. So what I do is I start with it open, and I just attack just the line, and I push it up a little bit. And it's okay to push it up, and you kind of want to do it. So depending on how you want your fade, you can have the fade be straight across. You can have the fade be oval. That's like a burst fade. You can have the fade be triangle. But whenever you do have the fade, you just want to make sure whatever shape that you're using, you want to do it with all of the clippers. So I kind of had it more of like a rainbow shape, so I'm going to just keep doing it in the rainbow shape. Now that I did that with the 0 guard open, I'm going to go to take that line out and close it. So you just close that line, and it's a very fake line, but it's pretty much done. Take it, close it, this is the 0. And just attack just the line. And now, that's pretty much blended out right there. Now, you're going to go ahead and do the same thing in the back. Now, in the back, what I usually like to do, especially since this is a very big canvas in the back, you can go ahead, since this is already cleaned up, you're not going to have to go back, you can close it. You can start with it closed. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to flick out, just like how we did on the side. You're going to flick. You see how I'm just doing this. It looks like I'm not even touching the hair, but all I'm doing is flick it out. And see what that does is that took that line out right away. Like I didn't even have to think about it. It's just, that's out. And you flick out, flick out. And see, now that taper is almost done. And that's just with those couple of clippers right there. The fade was a little bit lower than my left side. Is there any way that you could come in and fix it? That's a quick fix. All I would have to do is take a 0 and just blend it out because the bottom is a no guard. So with this one, I'm going to take my half guard, which will be my 0, and I'm going to open it. Usually what you want to do is you want to start open until you kind of get the concept of fading. Just because if you start with it closed, you might push the line all the way up here. You don't want to do that. You want it to kind of be seamless. So what I do is I start with it open, and I just attack just the line, and I push it up a little bit. And it's okay to push it up, and you kind of want to do it. So depending on how you want your fade, you can have the fade be straight across. You can have the fade be oval. That's like a burst fade. You can have the fade be triangle. But whenever you do have the fade, you just want to make sure whatever like, whatever shape that you're using, you want to do it with all of the clippers. So I kind of had it more of like a rainbow shape, so I'm going to just keep doing it in the rainbow shape. Now that I did that with the zero guard open, I'm going to go to take that line out and close it. So you just close that line, and it's a very faint line, but it's pretty much done. Take it, close it, this is the zero. And just attack just the line. And now, that's pretty much blended out right there. Now, you're gonna go ahead and do the same thing in the back. Now, in the back, what I usually like to do, especially since this is a very big canvas in the back, you can go ahead, since this is already cleaned up, you're not gonna have to go back, you can close it. You can start with it closed. And basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna flick out, just like how we did on the side. You're gonna flick. You see how I'm just doing this. It looks like I'm not even touching the hair, but all I'm doing is flick it out. And see what that does is that took that line out right away. Like I didn't even have to think about it. It's just, that's out. And you flick out, flick out. And see, now that taper is almost done. And that's just with those couple of clippers right there. 3, 2. You should almost be done with the fade, especially if you set everything in. When you get to your half guard, the fade should almost be done. Once you get the number 1 open and closed, the fade's good. So same thing with here, start with it open, just because it has more of a small space right here. And you always only gonna go up like a half. And then I closed it right there. And that's just to take that line out. Boom. That's faded right there. So next, what I'm gonna do, and all I have here today is only 1, 2, 3. I only have 4 clipper guards. So technically, you can do a whole haircut like this with 2 clipper guards. But you could do a whole haircut with 0, 1, 2, 3. You can do a whole haircut. So now, I take my number 1, and I start with my number 1 closed, just because I know that this is the line, and I know that this line up here is only a 1.5. So close it, attack just the line.
No matter the size hair?
Yeah.
1, 2, or 3.
So basically, say if I did, if this canvas right here with the number 2, and then this up here with the number 3, you would just want to start lower with your bald line. That's pretty much it. Just because what fades into a number 2 is a 1.5. So if this is the 2 and you bring your ball line up in here, there's nowhere to do your half guard, there's nowhere to do your 1 guard, there's nowhere to do the 1.5. You're gonna end up with a fade all the way up here. Like that ain't gonna work. So usually the higher the guard is, the lower you want to start with the ball line. Now, you don't technically always have to put a ball line in it with the taper. Like sometimes you could just use a 0, because some people don't like really tight fades. You know what I mean? So then here on this side, I'm gonna open it up now. It's just a little faint line right here. And all you gotta do, hit it out. Boom. Now, that's pretty much already faded. Now what I do is I turn the clipper over because you want to kind of lay it down, and I go with the grain with the number 1 closed. And that's getting, boy, that's getting flawless right there. That's looking nice. Looking nice.